What if I told you that every time you step onto a plane, there are hidden, almost invisible clues around you that silently whisper whether something is off, and most travelers never, ever notice them? Imagine sitting in your seat, buckling your belt, smiling at the flight attendants and scrolling your phone, while right above your head or right under your feet, little signals are quietly hinting at the story of the aircraft's health, the crew's alertness, and even your own safety. For example, have you ever noticed how the air smells slightly different on certain flights? Some passengers chalk it up to just airplane air, but insiders know that an unusual metallic or oily scent is often the first unspoken clue of an airflow system working harder than it should, pushing recycled fumes through filters that may not have been serviced recently. That's not in the brochure. And then there's the armrest riddle. Many travelers play with buttons, sliding it up and down without a second thought. But if the armrest is unusually stiff or doesn't click right, that small malfunction is a shadow of bigger maintenance oversights. The airline hopes you don't think twice about. Picture the emergency exit row. Most people choose it for legroom, smiling about the extra space. But have you ever watched how crew members glance at those doors before takeoff? A prolonged stare, a quick tug, or even a subtle radio call is often a silent conversation about whether the locking mechanism feels perfectly aligned. These are not random gestures. They're warnings, if you know how to see them. And think about the tray table. Sure, people use it for coffee or laptops, but did you know a tray that refuses to sit flat can actually signal cabin pressurization alignment being slightly off in that section? Pilots will never announce that, but seasoned crew recognize the pattern. Even the cabin lighting holds secrets. Flickering or a slow dimming sequence isn't always electrical mood lighting. Sometimes it's the system telling on itself, hinting that the power distribution isn't as stable as it should be. But the hint is there, and the story it tells is older than the plane itself. Now let's flip to the cabin crew themselves. Smiles, greetings, and polite gestures. But body language is everything. A flight attendant clutching the galley rail just a little longer than usual during turbulence? Not routine. It often means they feel instability they don't want passengers to notice. A rushed safety demo. Word comments. Demo, with his mumbled fast without real eye contact, can also be an unspoken marker of stress within the crew itself. Sometimes about timing, sometimes about readiness. Ever wondered why pilots sometimes step into the cabin, casually scanning rows before departure? It's not just to stretch. They're checking subtle details like overhead bin balance, or even listening for unusual mechanical sounds in the cabin ceiling. You won't find that in the passenger handbook. And don't forget the overhead bins themselves. If you spot uneven alignment, BDEMO, with alignment orins closing with a thud instead of a click, that's often the plane admitting its skeleton is slightly stressed from past heavy loads or hard landings. Strange clue, but real. Then there's the bathroom, the one space passengers treat as an escape. Ever notice a sink drain bubbling or water refusing to flow? That's more than plumbing. Alignment or plumbing. It can be a pressure clue tied into cabin circulation systems. Now picture this. You're mid-flight, the cabin bin is calm, and then suddenly the engines subtly adjust, not with a roar, but with a pulsing vibration you feel through your feet. Most think it's turbulence correction, but insiders know it's often an engine recalibration maneuver, the aircraft balancing itself in mid-air without ever making an announcement. The silence is intentional. Every single one of these clues hides in plain sight, waiting for travelers sharp enough to read them. And once you know, you can never unsee them. You'll notice the half-second pauses, the extra stares, the tiny flaws in hardware, the unusual smells, and the strange sounds that other passengers ignore as background noise. The question is, will you choose to stay blind like everyone else? Or will you train yourself to read the silent language of the skies? Because next time you board a plane, it won't just be about finding your seat. It will be about noticing what the aircraft is quietly trying to tell you before anyone else does.